They're going to have a show next year. So I think
well, when I got married, 3 to 11. She didn't know.
They get all the clothes they ever need. Of course, I always try to buy them Christmas jam, so they have their jam. And of course, it happens that we put at least $10 I said I only give them $5.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Maybe we'll have it Sunday afternoon. Well, she is.
It's been a day.
She's still out there. She's still living out.
I tell you. I tell you.
If you wallop.
The days just go like this anymore.
Quick,
yeah, they do quick. I don't like that. Huh?
I was thinking you were from Washington.
What? Why?
It's a federal way.
How?
How did you get into the government?
What do you do all day?
Security. What did you make up?
I don't think. I don't think. Do you get donuts? You don't get donuts? Why? Are you not a donut eater? You're a donut eater. Why do you get donuts? Donuts start your day.
I'll put in the budget.
There you go. Huh? We're waiting on that line item.
Need a food line item. Probably won't happen. Then they'll be like, why couldn't they don't do that? Save money. Not today. Yeah, you have 3. So your Social Security Administration time plus your military time.
She's sure going to come to
Yeah, he's got to be in the for free.
Oh, he does.
Right.
And plus they're out on calls.
Yeah.
They're done good call. I stopped by.
No, they're on another one, a power line.
Oh.
That's what this one is.
Good evening. Would you please stand with me for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Councilman Rogers.
Let us pray. Our God, our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings that you've given to all of us here. Pray tonight you'll be with us and guide us as we go about the business of the city. We continue to pray for those serving the armed forces abroad, serving in harm's way. Be with them, guard them, protect them. These things we pray in Christ's name. And amen.
Amen. Councilman Elam.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There was no one that signed up this evening for the public forum, so I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for December the 13th, 2018. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, that all members of council are present with the exception of Mr. Leach. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The minutes from the regular council meeting held on November the 8th, 2018 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, the minutes will stand approved as posted. Since Mr. Leach is not with us this evening, I will do the reconciliation of funds or the report of the treasurer. You all should have this in front of you. As you can tell by the reconciliation of funds, the city is solvent and all of our bills are paid. Moving on this evening, we have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll go right into new business. First item on our agenda this evening is a resolution for the caper. Tony?
Good evening. Before you tonight is the City of Vienna's caper, which is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. This is a document that we have to prepare each year after the city completes its community development block grant for a particular year. The city's time frame is October the 1st through September 30th, and it's due within 90 days after September 30th. During the time period that we just completed, the city was able to complete a total of 16 housing renovations, which exceeded our goal of 12. The renovations involved things like new roofs, HVAC systems, windows, gutters, and downspouts. All the projects were owner-occupied, located in Vienna, and all the homeowners met the guidelines of the program. These projects expended approximately $70,100. Since the grant period ended on September 30th, we've done an additional 4 units, or 4 houses, so we are continuing on with the programs. All the required public hearings have been held on the caper. All the legal notices were published. It's now being presented to City Council for your approval and authorization to submit to the head office in Pittsburgh.
Okay. I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Vienna that the attached Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, for the city's Community Development Block Grant Program for the period October the 1st, 2017 through September the 30th, 2018, be approved as attached. This document is being adopted following the completion of the necessary public notices and public hearings. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution for our city caper.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the caper for October the 1st, 2017 through September 30th, 2018. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Tony, thank you very much. This, I don't know how many pages it is, but that's quite a document right there. So thank you for your work. The next item on our agenda this evening is a resolution for the de-annexation of a parcel located at 11th Avenue and 39th Street. Mr. Skogstad, if you would, please.
I've got to write these shorter. A resolution to decrease the corporate limits by minor boundary adjustment, a parcel located at the intersection of 11th Avenue and 39th Street, Vienna, West Virginia. Whereas the City of Vienna has received a request for a decrease of the city's corporate limits from Kenneth G. Bob Bennett and Amelia Bennett, owners of a parcel of real property located within the city limits but contiguous with property they also owned located in the county. Said request having been submitted to and approved by the Vienna Planning Commission and forwarded to council, and whereas the city is authorized by West Virginia Code 874 to undertake proceedings to decrease corporate limits by minor boundary adjustment. Therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the mayor and city attorney are hereby authorized to institute proceedings as set out in West Virginia Code 874 before the Wood County Commission to effect a decrease of the city of Vienna's corporate limits by minor boundary adjustment to removal of parcel of property located at the intersection of 11th Avenue and 39th Street, Vienna, Wood County, West Virginia, presently owned by Kenneth G. Bob Bennett and Amelia Bennett, as is set out in the plat attached here to and incorporated by reference. I hope I didn't read that too fast.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution to decrease the corporate limits by minor boundary adjustment on the parcel located at the intersection of 11th Avenue and 39th Street.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution for the minor boundary adjustment. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the resolution for the minor boundary adjustment at the intersection of 11th Avenue and 39th Street, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. We will sign this if you will do your part with the county commission. That will get Mr. Bennett on his road.
Take care of it.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this evening is a discussion. Mr. Black, the Parks Director, would like to talk about a project that he's interested in.
I've asked Adam to help me get this thing rolling so I can show you some pictures of some things. But the purpose this evening, as everyone is aware, we had a broken pipe somewhere beneath the baby pool this year, so we weren't able to open. It's not a simplistic procedure to simply tape it, replace a section of pipe, or whatever the case may be. Because there was actually something in the newspaper, so I think it was taken out of context. And it said, what should Vienna City Council do about the broken pipe at Jackson Park's baby pool? Repair it and leave the pool as is, 78%. That'd be awesome if it was that simple. Put in a small splash pad, 16%, other 5%. To fix this pipe, we would have to dig up the entire pool, the liner, the plumbing, the whole 9 yards. In an estimation on the low side, probably $100,000, upwards to, could be $140,000 to replace it as is. Baby pools are kind of a thing of the past. People are going more towards splash pads, splash parks. St. Mary's has a splash pad in conjunction with their pool. Parkersburg is building a splash, pad pool center, whatever the case may be. And the Aquatic Center at Marietta has a number of things, in conjunction with a splash pad. It's not cheap, but I want to go over a few things, and I'll be brief. I'm not going to read it to you. In your packet of information, it's information and proposal. It's a little bit of a history that back in 1961, recreation bonds were issued to pay for a brand new pool to the tune of $130,000. So needless to say, prices have gone up, but we've gone through a number of changes, and as recently as about 3.5 years ago, a new liner was put in that pool. Last year, before the season opened, new electric and lights, inside the pool area. So it's really where it needs to be, the big pool. The baby pool was unfortunately not open. The usage of the pool has increased. Now, some people have said it's because Parkersburg was closed. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But there's more activities and things going on at the pool right now. In addition to the daily operation of a pool, there are water exercise classes. There are aqua Zumba classes on weekends. You say, no big deal. What's that have to do with the baby pool? I've talked to professional pool management, who you all agreed to bring on board as our management company again. And they would actually put 1 or 2 lifeguards in the baby pool or in the splash pad, or whatever it would be, area, kind of to monitor. And this would give more people an opportunity to do this. I heard from several people, all very good, mostly understanding that there is nowhere for the little kids to go. Well, unless mom or dad puts little floaties on them or something and takes them in the pool. This splash pad is not a pool. There is not standing water. It's a slab. It's a little bit rubberized, and there's a variety of fountains and different things for the kids to play with. What I want to show you, okay, here's the pool. This is the baby pool area that I'm talking about. It's about 900 square feet. We keep a fenced in area, and that's just what it is for the small children. Now, first time I brought this to Budget and Finance, I had a proposal from Snyder Recreation. There's two types of systems. A freshwater system that keeps the water going. It's just like normal tap water. It goes down the sewer drain, in and out, basically. Or there's recirculation. When that happens, it's similar to the pool's operation, it has to be chlorinated. When I first talked to this Snyder Recreation, and they were really good, very helpful with this. We talked about the fresh water option. So I talked to Craig. If we had all these things working at the same time, in a given hour, we would use in excess of 5,000 gallons of water in an hour. During the summer, he put a pencil to it. It's going to cost, it could cost $28,000 to $30,000 for water and sewer because it's going down the sanitary sewer line. Recirculation system, and I'm going to show you something else. Actually, between fresh water and the recirculation in this second proposal that I'll get to is $18,000 different. I could be paying $30,000 to waste the water. I could be paying $18,000 for a system that's going to recirculate it. But this was a proposal from Snyder Construction. I'm very adamant, no water guns that they're going to shoot at people, scare the little kids away. So you see, it's very simple. There's a number of, maybe I should turn it the other way. There we are. Different fountains and different things the kids can play in. That's an aerial view. And you can see this is the fenced-in area as it is right now. The cost is $194,000. Now, on the positive side, after the Budget and Finance meeting, a company representative from Splash Zone LLC out of Mesa, Arizona, somehow saw this article. So he wanted to talk about some things. Well, this is their specialty. Snyder Recreation does a variety of things. Splash Zone LLC just does splash pads, splash parks. This is what they said. Okay, now I'm crooked. You can see this is inactive, this is active. And I like these ideas where it's not going to knock a kid into the next county or anything like that. And that one simply, that's the aerial view. The two prices I got from these folks, as I said, the fresh water and the recirculation. Fresh water, where it simply goes down the sewer, is $171,000. The recirculation, $153,750. And that was the second set of things that were sent to you folks to be put in your drop box. I do know that there's been a lot of talk about home rule, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I don't know. But what I'm looking for from you folks is yay or nay, should I go forward with this? Should I put it out for bid? I can guarantee you that the prices are going to be less, very much less. I don't know, because these are not sealed bids. And I told both companies, there was actually a third person that had contacted me yesterday. So the good news is, thank you, newspaper. The word's getting all around the country. So I sent the guy the information, but I don't have that with me tonight. But I'm looking for direction. Should we, and I don't need that answer right now, but should we go forward with it? or should we not? I see a great amount of benefits. Everything we do, the events, things we're trying to do in the parks, it's for families, little kids up to adults. And the pool's no exception. So we've put money into it in the past. It's in good shape at this point. We had a little meltdown with our pump last year. Fortunately, it was covered under warranty, so now I have 2 pumps. So I actually have a brand new pump and this one rebuilt, so we're good to go. So there'll be no problems. Like I said, I understand it's a pretty strong, pretty high financial commitment. I have no money in the budget. It would be my recommendation, I'm not the finance person, a capital reserve type of project. The benefits greatly outweigh, my opinion, would greatly outweigh the investment in something like this.
Steve, do they give you any estimate of the life expectancy on the pad and the equipment?
At least 15 years. And that, I kind of got off track here. There is timing involved at this point in time. I would need to have a bid approved and in place sometime in February, no later than the very end of February, so this could be in place and open up June 1st. So it goes a little bit longer, it opens up a little bit later. But I felt bad that we couldn't use the pool, but a simple thing, you take a 10-gallon container, you empty it into another 10-gallon container, you dump it back, you're expecting 10 gallons. We had like 5. So where's that water going? And the good news was it wasn't chlorinated at the time. So that's how we knew we had a broken pipe.
What's the cost again of fixing the baby pool?
Probably on the low side, because it's hard to tell exactly what we're going to get into. At least 100,000, could be upwards to 140,000, depending on how bad the rest of the plumbing could be. It's never been messed with. That baby pool is about 25 years old.
I mean, is it because I'm an anti-spend money things, but why could we not think big and get a boat done? I mean, why could you not put the splash pad over on that big cement slab over there where everybody doesn't really sit, on the side toward the road? I mean, is that out of the question to do both? Is that too much money? I don't know. I mean, it's something that's outside the box. It's things big.
Well, all I'm looking for with that is just something that's going to be in the baby pool area. That other side where you're talking about, that's where everybody comes to set up camp. There's no plumbing going over there, so now in essence we'd be tearing up all that concrete to put something in place. And I don't know what's involved in that. Unfortunately, I'm not a construction type of person, but what I do know, they start digging up the baby pool, it is right there. So we just need to replace, whomever would need to replace everything that is right there. There's no additional digging or tearing up the rest of the pool.
Yeah, because I've had feedback from families about, because I was excited about you first said it, you told us about it at our meeting, but then now I'm getting feedback from the families about where I'm going to take my little baby to swim, in the big pool with the big kids, or that's going to be dominated by teenagers. So where little babies go, where do I take my kid in to do the floaty things and everything? So that was my only, I've heard a negative feedback on that, so that was my input.
That baby pool was from 12 inches to 18 inches, so it wasn't that, they weren't going to swim a whole lot anyway. Now, there was always a lifeguard, so if there is a problem, I mean, hopefully the parent's watching and is responsible, but there's a lifeguard just in case the kid goes down and just set him back up. There's none of that with this splash pad. I've gone to Marietta at different times, just riding bikes up by that aquatic center, and to see the kids all ages. This isn't limited 2 to 6. I mean, I've seen adults standing in these things, cooling down. So, if it's really hot, there's no restrictions as far as that goes.
Steve, could you put your aerial photograph back up, please? No, sir, not that one. The one that shows the fence.
This shows what?
The fence.
Well, this is a different, that's the other one. See, there's the fenced-in area. There's still going to be concrete for chairs. for parents to be with their kids. But the first time I really saw something like this, several years ago, I was in Baltimore. And in these parks, they had not this fancy, but just water coming out of the ground, and people were having a heyday with it.
Do you have the picture of the pool as it is now? I think that's what Randy was asking.
Well, if you take the oval that you see there, Mike,
Oh,
and then you go to the second design that he showed, it's round. Excuse me. If you, depending on where you locate the round area, that would maybe allow for a small baby pool like you're referencing.
that's what that was. That whole white area was the baby pool.
And you want to stay within those confines, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 900 square feet.
Okay, and so the round one that you showed, the second set that you showed, what is the diameter on that?
Well, all I know is it's 900 square feet. So I don't know exactly. Now I got too many things going here.
A little
And
comment.
it doesn't have to be round. It can be oblong. And with this particular design, down the road, if there were more things that you all wanted to add to it, it could be done that way. That's how it would be plumbed. I put a message in to Snyder to see if that could happen. I didn't have a return call. So, and I'm sure you probably could do that too.
A little comment, Mike, you were talking about when parents don't want to take their kids into the big pool with the big guys for swimming. You all know that during break, parents can take kids in with floaters. So kids can go in the pool with floaters during the break. There's no big kids in there, just parents and little kids. And then they can go to a splash pad during the rest of the time and run some of that energy off.
Steve, I missed the budget and finance meeting this past time. I like the idea of a splash pad. I also like, I'm old school, I like the baby pool idea myself. My kids, I took them up there.
Right.
They would sit on the end and put their feet in and just kick the water and have a good old time. Because I also know that there are a lot of parents that don't want to get in the water with their children,
Right.
as you know, to get in even when it was cleared out just for kids with swimmers. You know, I'm old school. I like the baby pool idea because you know a lot of kids just want to sit there and splash in the water. And when my kids were real young, they didn't like that water splashed in their face, which you would get with a splash pad. You know, a lot of times. You know, I like the idea of a splash pad, but, you know, is there some possibility we could locate it somewhere else and still maintain a baby pool?
Yeah, that's my,
You
I
know?
don't want to talk a lot, I mean, I know we're taking a lot of our time, but
Oh,
it's
no.
important to the city, I think, but like what Kathy was saying, like the baby pool, I like the idea of having. I would like to make, this is a chance for the Vienna to, like say, think big, and somehow, we have all that parking up there, we have that big concession stand area, to make it a destination. Hey, we got the adult swim, we got the baby pool, we got the splash pad. I think it'd be something for our city that we could invest in for the future, for you know, for the young families. You know, the whole family. There's something for everyone because, like, say, put the splash pad in, there goes the babies. Where's mommy gonna get in the pool? She don't
Yeah,
get in
because
the
a
big
lot
pool.
don't want to get in there. You
So I
know?
think
I mean,
just
unless
look at-
that's changed over the years, you know, I don't know.
I mean, do we need that bigger concession area? I think we have all land that they're not parking. I just think we can make it a
But
destination point somehow.
I like the splash pad idea. You know, I've seen those, if you go to other cities, they have them even in outside malls, you know.
Right.
They'll have them in between us, and kids love them. They do. It's very exciting for them, you know, get in there, splash around, and the water coming down on them. Even when we used to have at Spencer Park back in the older times too, the sprinkler over there, they love to get in that sprinkler, you know, and play. So I'm kind of torn between, you know, the idea of doing away with the baby pool myself, but that's just me.
I don't know enough about it, other than all I can do is guess. To have both, now you're, you know, creating a lot more construction up there, because you're gonna have to run water lines to wherever. On the side that you're talking about, Councilman, all that concrete, I know it looks like a waste, but go up there on a busy day and it's jam full of people, because there's not a whole lot of room other than right right around here for these folks to sit. So.
Steve, a few years back, we had to do some major repairs to the baby pool because there was an issue with the drain.
Right.
A child in another city had gotten pulled down in that drain and had some injuries.
Right.
And so the new designs, I'm sure that if they come, would have the proper drainage and all those safety features built in. Mr. Skogstad calculated that the round design that you showed would be 33 feet in diameter, okay? Would it be possible for you to reach out to either one of these companies and say, if we put the round one on the left-hand side and the baby pool back in on the right-hand side, would it fit? Knowing how Craig's guys do concrete work on other projects, now would be the time if you're going to do that, because once you remove all the concrete and put the structures back in, I don't believe it would be that much work to do that. But obviously Craig's guys wouldn't be doing this project. It would have to be done by a pool company. But that would be the time to do it, is when the pad's out.
Well, and that fence is where it is right now, and we all know fences can be moved. So all it's going to do, in this area, it's moving closer to the deep end where the diving boards are, and here closer to the pool, because that's the concession area.
Is the break, Steve, as far as you know, somewhere, I assume, in the floor, the base of the baby pool?
It has to be, yeah.
So does it just have a supply line running through there? Is that all there is, a supply line, or a supply line and a drain, or?
Supply line and a drain.
Okay, but what are you, based on the people you've talked to, what are you seeing as the biggest expense to repair that baby pool?
Just the fact that we'd really have to tear it all out.
Well, could it be maybe not quite as deep, and instead of tearing it out to put a new line in under, put the new line over the existing and pour 4 more inches of concrete? I mean, obviously you're going to go from 12 to 18 to 8 down to, 14, but, it might be a whole lot more economical, and you'd still have a baby pool.
Right.
And I don't know if that's possible or not. I'm just throwing out.
We had more complaints in years past, I remember that, about the baby pool, because parents are supposed to bring the swim diapers for the kids and they don't. And when that happens, you shut it down for the day. So, same thing with the pool. Now, would it happen in a splash pad? Sure it could. So,
Well, the biggest negative I've heard is actually the one word that you used a little bit ago, that it was non-restricted. I've talked to several of the folks that have said, they didn't want to be in there with their 18-month-old toddler when there's, 10 and 12-year-olds in there running around too. Right. They didn't think it was a safe situation to have their kids in there with that. So there again, it might be totally eliminating the baby, the toddler.
Well, and we could restrict it. I mean, it's not like we're going to check ID or, have the lifeguards do that, but they do a good job of keeping order. So, but no, I've not explored.
It doesn't matter anyway, because the 12 and 13-year-olds,
they're
in the baby pool, right? And the guards are trying to keep them out of there as much as possible, but it doesn't work.
I expect they would be in that splash pad a whole lot more than they would be in the baby pool, though,
I don't know about that. Well, their point, and maybe Steve's not bringing up, is in this county, I mean, anytime you operate a pool, it's a losing proposition. You're going to be in the red as far as at the end of the season because of the number of costs involved with it, whether it's chemicals of your employees, lifeguards, whatever. But there is one pool in this county that has made a profit, and that's the Marietta pool there. And that's because they have something for every size kid that's there. And a splash pad would probably help that. I mean, Parkersburg's already known that, and they're falling in that order also, trying to do something to try to increase their revenue that way. I will say something directly across from that, on the other side where the sliding board is, that pad was increased for one reason. There was a lot of people in the pool, and there was no place to go because the decking around the pool was very limited. So that side was added to allow, because a lot of women go up there to sunbathe, they jump in the pool, get wet, and then they go sunbathe. So that would decrease the number of people in the pool, and that's the reason why the pad was enlarged, and it was basically enlarged as far as it can go. The only reason why I say that is when you go across the hill over there, that's a rock face in there, and it is almost, I mean, you almost have to blast to get any type of level area in there. And the only way to put a splash pad and try to keep a pool here would encroach into the concession area, and then maybe expand the concession area out towards the parking lot area. And that would probably keep both in there at the same time. But that's the only way, because there's no place to expand in that pool area.
I think we should look at that, I really do. Just look at the options of keeping them both and the price and get quotes and just be creative and think big, you know, because that would make that a destination. I mean, think about what Bruce was saying, you know, that concrete was added how many years ago? That's when the pools were packed, but now they're not.
Right.
So we need to create something that'll make people want to come to Jackson Pool, and I think having both would appeal to everyone. I think return on our investment would work out, I really do. But, you know, that's something that's more work for you, but, you know, so I think it's...
You gotta also understand, that pool's built back in the 60s. And the twin to it was in South Parkersburg off of Belmont, and that pool has been down 15, 20 years now when they built the Southwood pool. But even though the big pool, I mean, has been realigned, electric's done, the lighting system, ground fault, all that stuff is done in the main pool, it's still been, you know, constructed back in the 60s. So, I mean, you're having problems with the baby pool, trying to get the lines collapsed and broken, and so it's going to happen to the big pool too sometime. So, I mean, I've suggested, you know, to try to find some place other than that, and then try to save sometime in the future and try to put a larger pool in here with us. But right now, I mean, cost effective, we just can't do it.
Steve, you and Mike are both on the park board. What I would like to do, if you fellows would be willing to do this, the ideas have been, you know, put out here tonight, and I think there's a general interest in the project. Mr. Leach, even though he's not here, expressed his support for the project. So if you would take it back to the park board and talk about the things that you've heard from us tonight, and see what the park board recommendation would be, and bring that back to us, because I'd like to move forward if, you know, a consensus can be gathered on that.
He also said there was a time crunch, and it needs to be done soon. Otherwise, you're not going to be open. You're going to be closed all summer like Parkersburg.
You're right. Go back to the park board, it'll be mid-January. Come to budget and finance 1st of February. Come to council, it'll be early February. I missed my deadline. And that's okay, because if we do go forward with a bigger expansion, then so be it. That thing, the gate's closed. You know, if you all opt for something like that, they can, I mean, I hate to do the construction during the summer, but, you know, see what we can do. But this goes back to one of the first things I said. There's no money in the budget. So this is something, I'm giving you $150,000 for a splash pad. Now for a baby pool in addition, say it is $100,000, maybe it's $150,000. So now it's a substantial chunk of money. Do I go forward with simply doing sealed bids? There's no commitment, but I'm getting the prices. But am I spinning my wheels? Am I wasting my time? And you're not going to hurt my feelings. Don't do it. Just keep it closed. You know, Bruce had mentioned there could be problems with the big pool someday. When it gets to that point, I have a plan B. It's called fill it with concrete, and there's my pickleball facility. So, I mean, I'm being dead serious.
If we do miss the deadline this year, I think the citizens will be happy. Hey, here's what's coming, you know, and it's budget item. We're not barring off, you know, we're not taking out of that. the pot, you know, and hey, coming soon, splash pad plus a baby pool. You know, we want to do it right. I don't want to just get it quick fixed. If we do splash pad, then we lose people because they don't come up there because they don't have a baby pool.
Right.
It defeats the whole purpose. So if we think big, like I said, and take time, maybe it's not until next year that's in the budget. You do it this fall, you know, people know it's coming, they'll be excited about it and support why baby pool is still closed this year.
You know, another, and I have no idea the legal ramifications, Counselor. Across the street, I believe that's all Board of Education property that goes up toward the woods. I don't know what's the cities and what's not. There's a perfect place for an indoor facility. Now you're looking at water classes all year long. You're looking at swim classes. Now you're really talking, I mean, this is above $1 million project, I'm sure, but that's something I've thought about as well. The school could use it as well. It would have to be staffed, so there's more expense, but just throwing that out there.
Steve, do we know within the base of that baby pool about where that water line's located at? Is that part of the issue, or?
I'm not 100% certain. I do know, actually, we have another little place, but we,
Several times, and we pieced it back together over.
So we've got a good idea where it's at.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've had to shore up the concrete where the diving boards are because there was a little issue
Well, I'm talking
there,
about the
but
baby pool.
I know,
Yeah, where
but
that line.
that's where the line goes.
Okay, I
Right
got
under
you.
the diving board area, right to it. So I've seen it, so it can't be more than 4 feet down, so.
If you go behind the school, you can't do it there because the school is trying to put a restroom at Jackson Middle School in the upper level in that lot where most of the teachers are gonna park.
No.
So that wouldn't be feasible, but we have plenty of space in the Manville property that could be a new area with plenty of parking and a nice area.
I mean, there's a lot of options. Just tell me the direction to go. This is just the beginning. Wait till January.
I would like a recommendation from the park board,
Yeah.
okay? Put your heads together and bring us the design, okay? All right? Okay,
That's it.
all right,
Thanks.
thank you. That concludes our agenda for this evening. We'll now move on to council comments.
I got a few. As we get ready for this, I know it's a stressful time for everyone with the budget coming up. I don't want to delay, you know, I want to get a jump on this stuff, you know, as far as that goes. You know, I know you guys know I'm not a big advocate of the economic development position, you know, with a town our size. I'll bring it up again. I know that I do appreciate our economic development person giving us these monthly reports. They do help. I mean, I see his activity, but, you know, as I pull it up, you know, I see these days that he goes to, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, the fire department, Five Below. That was one day. One day it was the Fox's Florist, Rotary, Five Guys Restaurant. I see these bullet points. I don't care about his itinerary. I just want to know, getting back to my original thing, the return on investment. As far as, I mean, yes, I know it's good to stop these places. Hey, you know, I'm Paul. Hey, what can I do for you? Anything I need for you? But I need to see. That's good when you do those things. Somebody needs to do that. But as far as I'd like to know, okay, you went to the Chamber of Commerce. Was that just for lunch? I mean, what business developed out of that? That's what I want to see. You know, I want it more in depth as far as what I'm getting now, because I'm not interested in the productivity. Just like the names of the place he's been, that doesn't matter to me. I want to see what's he doing with these businesses, what he's producing, what was the outcome, you know, what was the purpose of going there? Was it just say hi, or was something they needed? So that's my big thing about the economic development position. I'll fight for this every year probably, but it's whether it'll go ways or not, but I don't know. But I want to keep, you know, I appreciate what he's doing, but I just think it needs to go a step further. And I get a list, and the city, Jim Leach was very helpful to provide a bunch of information I had. You know, I see these lists of businesses that came into the city from July 1st of last year to June 30th of this year. And there's 3 pages of business. Most of them are Parkersburg, but I don't see anything. A couple of them looks like a couple of people doing business out of their house. I don't see any big ticket items that came into our city as a result for this position. So that's my spiel on that, and that's where I want to stand. And so if we could get some more in-depth reporting from the gentleman who does this position, it'd help me further. And I might be totally wrong, but right now I just don't see the need for it, and I'll continue with that until I see results. Okay, so that's the stuff with that. And the next thing, I'm not here to irritate any city employee whatsoever, but I'm another advocate of the city insurance. I don't know how it works, and I know I've been invited to talk to people, but I want to get it out. One thing, when I ran for city council, everyone was talking about, well, the city's so secret about everything. The city, they don't tell you anything. So that's why I've been asking questions for the last 2 years. I know it's been a change of pace for city councilmen, because I'm actively asking questions and I'm doing my research. I know Mr. Conley, I know you dive into things. You're always seeking information. It's a little change of pace from the council people. So, and that's where I want to be more transparent as a city councilman. I know social media's played a big part on it with Facebook and all the other things. We can announce a lot more things, and people send me questions. And so, I want to be more transparent for the people who ask me these questions. But my thing with the insurance, like I said, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how I don't want to punish the employees who are here, because I spent a day with Craig Metz, knowledgeable man. I'm very impressed. Well, he runs his ship up there. And I spent some time with Steve Black. We have, like I say, Randy, we have great employees here. I've been impressed by the whole 60th Street stuff and this thing that Steve's doing with the Parks and Rec. And everyone, and Chief Pfeiffer. I mean, I'm not complaining about anyone but there's something about, I did some numbers, and our insurance is, from 3 years ago, the cost that city pays has gone up 48%. Just in 3 years. We're paying $1.2 million for 81 people or less. It's sometimes part-time. But $1.2 million is a lot of money for insurance when we've had no rate increases since 1999. And I just don't, I know we have a good policy. I don't know how. I know Schwindeman searches for us, but I don't know how it's presented to them. Hey, this is the policy we had last year. We like the same thing. I know we have a lot of, I know we talk about the base rate pay for people, is not at the Parkersburg. I don't want to compare against Parkersburg. I want to see, if our rate's lower than some people on hourly rate, by gosh, we got a heck of an insurance policy. People don't look at that. I think when you're young, out of college, you think about, I want to make this amount of money, I make $40,000. Well, you're paying $3,000 every 6 months for insurance, so it washes it out. So I think that we need to look at, I've offered to be on, I've run nursing homes with 160 employees, and I've done insurance things, and I've offered to be on a subcommittee. I know I was turned down for that because you said the finance committee does that, which you sit on and Kathy Smith sit on. So 2/3 of the people are city employees. I'm just asking for somebody to dive in this stuff and look at the best bang for our buck for our insurance, because it's out of control. I mean, as far as up 48% from 3 years ago, that we still pay the same thing. It's just the cost of I think I don't have the numbers. I had them somewhere. But I think over $5 million, and I might be shooting some wrong numbers, I don't want to misguide anyone, is paid for employee benefits and retirements and things like that of a $9 million budget. So I just have concern about that, and I don't want I know last year, 2 years, we've done budgets. We're always waiting on the numbers. Well, we wait until it's a week before the budget has to be submitted to the state. So we lose out on that. So why not look at it now in December, where we can look at these things and study these things and see what the best thing is? Because I guarantee you, if you were running a private business, which I know someone up here one time said we can't run the city like a business. Well, we should, because that's the only way it works. But, if you're running a private business, would you be paying this much insurance for your employees? Whether we give them wage increases to offset or have a 5-year plan, but something needs to be done, because if not, it's 1999 is going to turn into 2029 and still paying the same rate, and we're still getting the same coverage. We still give the $2,000 extra on top of once they meet their deductible and things like that. So I'm volunteering to head up anything or be a part of this. I'm not an expert, but I know some things about it, but I just need something needs to be done with how we're not addressing it, and we're just kind of getting the same insurance every year, or how the process is for shopping for insurance. I'm not, like I said, there's nothing against our city employees. I don't want to stick it to them by raising their rates astronomically, but something needs to be done, because these policies we have now are, if you're a federal government employee, I'm sure you get these kind of perks, but we're a local city government with a pretty good sweet package of insurance, and so I'm just asking, for help or from direction we need to go with this. And whoever councilman have any comments, or mayor, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not attacking anyone, I'm not saying anything bad against anyone, I'm just saying something needs to be done with the insurance.
When the information is presented to our insurance carrier for the renewal rate, how does that work? Is that something that's given to them from the finance committee, or, they obviously come back to us with a number, but they come back with a number based on what we requested? How does that request take place is, I guess, what I'm saying.
If you're an employee and you have a heart attack in December, that goes in their report, and they look at all your employees and what has happened during the year. And if you have to have a heart transplant that costs $1 million in December, that's what they're going to look at as far as your employees is concerned, as to what rate they're going to charge you in the future. And I will say this, Mike, your concern is the same thing with the state. You look at the state PEIA, Governor Justice has put millions of dollars in that, and still has done that. Insurance is going to go up. I mean, it's happened, and what can we do? I don't know. The PEIA had all kinds of places where they have met to try to get the costs down, and it's happened in the state. It's happened in our city. I mean, we used to have what is called a Cadillac. I mean, everything was taken care of, no deductibles, anything, and then all of a sudden, all that stuff started to have to, our employees are paying the deductible and everything else to keep that cost down. But, I mean, it's happening everywhere. And
that's what I'm saying.
It's not just locally.
I think about, I got some numbers, and, for an individual, the city pays 96.2% of the insurance, the employee pays 3.8%. There's 5 categories: individual, 2-person, parent and child, parent, children, family. The most anyone pays is, looks like the family, there's 24 people on the family plan, they pay 6.4%. So the city pays 93.6% of their insurance. And those are just astronomical. I don't hear those things happen anymore. Like you say, the cost of insurance is going up, but who's that passed on to? This is passed on to our citizens of Vienna, with their paying for all this insurance that is very costly. But like I say, we haven't had a rate increase since 1999. That's not normal.
You're absolutely right, too, but on the second part of that, too, the employees are getting the insurance instead of a pay raise. If we take all their insurance away, they're going to have to pay insurance. And their salaries are not going to stay where they're at right now, or you're not going to get employees here. You're going to have to increase their pay maybe 3-4 times as much in order for us to do away with the insurance.
That's what I'm saying, Bruce. I'm not asking to stick it to the employee. There's got to be some creative way to get this under control, because right now it hadn't stopped since 1999. It's 2018, Bruce. That's 19 years. Yeah. That something's got to change. Because when's it going to stop? When is it going to stop? With that kind of money, 14% of our budget is for employee benefits. 14% of our total budget for City of Vienna is for insurance for our 81 employees.
And that wasn't really...
I totally agree with that. And Canada did it. England did it. They went to what? national insurance. I don't know if that's gonna have to happen sometime in the future or not, especially when we get a president that says you have to have insurance coverage, and if you don't, it's gonna come back on your income taxes.
That wasn't really my question, though, Councilman. My question was, when you go to the insurance company, you talk about, are you talking about an 80-20 policy that you're getting a quote on, 70-30? What is the deductible? What's the out-of-pocket?
Roger, if you'll let me explain.
Please, thank you.
Okay. First, Mike, let me tell you a couple things. Because we are a small city, we don't have anyone that's versed in insurance policies. So we've engaged Mark Schwendeman, who represents hundreds of businesses with their insurance policies. So by using this Schwendeman agency, he goes out and he gets a quote from every agency that is interested, okay? The problem with that is, you talk about the time and how we're always up against it before we get our insurance numbers. Our year goes from July to July. So, as Bruce made the comment about the heart attacks, it's a cost ratio. It's an expense ratio. If we pay $1 million for our insurance policy and the insurance company pays out $1.2 million in claims, that's not a good thing because the insurance company's losing money. That's how they adjust our rate based on what our claims experience is, okay? And so, Roger, for your part of it, every time that we go to Schwendeman, he comes back with multiple offers from all of these companies based on a series of different deductibles, co-pays, all of the things that are involved in that. And then we sit down with Schwendeman and his folks and we look at whatever is the best value that we can get for our city budget and our employees. And so the time frame, unfortunately, can't change because the companies that want to bid on this, they want it as close to July as they can get it because, as Bruce made the reference, if they quote us in, say, February, and then at the end of June, we get a large claim for $1 million or whatever, it throws the numbers all out of whack. And so they have to do estimations based on our historical claims to figure that. So that's why it's always late. It's because you're asking them to give you an annual pricing beginning in January based on numbers that they don't have. That's why they delay it, and that's why it takes so long to get those numbers. Now, as far as getting all of the different plans and the different things, if you have ever taken the time to look at the paperwork that we get from Blue Cross, it's all spelled out, every bit of it. I mean, there's pages of that stuff where they compare what we have, what we could consider, and what the cost savings would be, or how much of an increase it would be. So there are multiple options every year, and have been for as long as I've been involved in this. And that's the reason that the insurance works the way it does. Can it be changed? Absolutely. There's no question it can be changed. All right? It depends on how you value your employees, how you value your dollar as far as what you're getting for that. And that's the thing that has to be looked at every year. And so with Mark Schwendeman, as I said, he's an expert. He's got people that do nothing but reach out to these insurance companies. And unfortunately, because we have less than 100 employees, they won't share with us all of the claims experience, all right? So we never know. That's just the way the rules work. If you have less than 100 employees, the insurance companies don't have to share those numbers. So we don't know. But because we are so small and we don't have any insurance department here at the city, we go out to them because they represent us very well, as they do Wood County. They do many agencies in the Ohio area, Washington County, and what have you. But so they're familiar with what all the rates are in our particular area. The insurance bill, in my opinion, is probably the scariest part of the budget because you have no control over that thing. Based on all the rates and you know, however the health of your employees are, determines whatever the expense ratio is. If, you know, in the past we've gotten reductions big reductions because our people didn't have any major claims. But you get a year where, you know, you've got guys that are on dialysis, you've got people that are on, serious injuries, you know, heart attacks, things like that. It can really mess up your expense ratio. So that's the reason why it takes so long to get the numbers, is because they're not available, because they want to push it right up as far as they can so they get a better picture of whatever our expenses are going to be. And there are multiple platforms on every one that we've gotten. I know Stephanie can show you every one of those if you care to see them.
Actually, I think the council as a whole should look at those and determine which one of those policies makes the most sense for the employees and the citizens.
And that's, the way, that's.
That, and I think, I don't want to speak for Councilman Elam, but I kind of think something like that's what he's talking about. Those are the decisions that we need to make now before we really get into the budget process. Once we get into the budget process and we wait on those numbers, it's too late. I'm sure Schwindemans is a great agency, but, they're not going to tell us what plan that we're going to buy. That's a decision we have to make. They're not going to tell us how much the employees are going to pay. That's a decision that we have to make. And in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like that decision's happened with the Finance Committee, not by the council as a whole, and that needs to change.
Well, there's actually an insurance committee that looks at every one of the plans.
And who is the committee, please?
Oh, there are 9 people on it, okay? But it's always been that way, okay? They review these things, they make a recommendation. Ultimately, it's like every other item that's on the budget. It's a budget decision. If you approve it, fine. If you don't, then we have to go back and rework it again. It's, the bottom line, it's our decision of whether the budget gets passed in whatever format it is. So it's always been passed in the past, so it's been approved. And there's a lot of work goes in on the insurance plans, all right?
How many of those 9 are not city employees?
To be honest with you, I don't know right offhand.
I would like to know.
Okay, well, we got, that's easy. I mean,
okay, thank you.
Every department's represented in it. Okay, so every department puts a person on that, and
so that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in, but that makes it sound like that it's a 9-person committee of city employees. So I think that we need to have some focus on what we're going to do pertaining to insurance as a council, not just representing. We're not just representing employees. We're representing the whole citizenry of Vienna, and we need to look at it that way, in my opinion.
Okay. Any other council comments this evening?
I did have one other item that I wanted to touch on just briefly. And there again, this is kind of a precursor to going into the budget process. We talked just very briefly about a 5-year plan. In fact, I've got a copy of it here, and I'm not sure, how this was drafted or by what group. But it's a very good start, but I think we need to go just a little bit deeper with our 5-year plan. In fact, I think we should be looking at a 5-year/10-year plan. I think we're at the point right now where we have to start looking at a 5-year, 10-year plan on things like replacing our water lines. We're constantly having water line breakage that we just, we fix. And obviously they do a great job at doing that. But at some point in time, we have to start looking at an infrastructure comprehensive plan to start replacing some of these things, not just patching them. And I think we're at that point in time. The water lines, we've got a certain amount, and I don't know how many feet. Craig probably does. I don't know what percentage of our water line is the transite water lines that's got basically a 50-year shelf life. There's probably different types of water lines within the city, but that's something that probably needs to be prioritized as to maybe the transite water lines gets fixed in a 5-year program, the others get moved into a 10-year program. But I think that's all stuff that we're going to have to start looking at and budgeting in our budget process. Just like the paving of the streets, I think we need to start thinking about a little bit more of a comprehensive plan on paving the streets that we have. With the way we're paving right now, we're just constantly going to be behind the 8 ball if we don't start looking down the road and developing, I believe, beyond a 5-year plan out to a 10-year plan. And it's all, I don't mean to simplify it. I know it's not. I know it's difficult. I know it's a lot of work. But the bottom line is it is math. And it's just a matter of figuring out what it's gonna cost to replace. I don't care how you do the formula, whether it's a 10-foot section of the transite water line and you have to put an adder to it on every year going forward for the 10 years. And it's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be close. It's gonna be something we don't have right now. We don't have it in the budget right now, and we don't have a plan. I think we have to get a comprehensive plan, period, for all of our infrastructure, and I think that's something that's gonna have to be prioritized in the very near future.
Just an item of clarification. The street projects are funded out of the general fund. All of the water lines and everything come out of the enterprise funds, which are based on water and sewer rates. They have no bearing whatsoever on this budget. So the 5-year plan that's developed, the 10-year plan that you're referring to, would be done through the enterprise funds and not the general fund. So there is a huge separation in that.
I understand, but we need to discuss that because we're not allowed to vote on that anymore.
Well, but it doesn't come out of that same pot of money.
Understand.
Okay?
Agreed.
Just want to make sure you understand
I
that.
understand that.
Okay.
You've
All right.
also got to understand the water lines are below the streets. So when you start a section of water lines, you also need to look at probably the sewer lines for infiltration or anything like that. And then you're going to have to pack everything back down, and then you're going to have to do the streets. So you've got basically 3 things that you're really going to
I understand, but my point is the plan has to get started at some point in time.
You're absolutely right. And most of those transite pipes were put back when WPA was here.
Well, my understanding, they only have about a 50-year life cycle, so, we're probably in that range. It's kind of the reason
No,
I'm
you're
bringing it
overdue.
up. I understand, and that's my point.
Yeah.
Actually, that plan was done in 1995 for Wolford Engineering. And part of this plan that you're referring to now, the 5-year plan, has some sewer line extensions and upgrades.
I did see some sewer line upgrades in that plan.
Plus water line
Yep.
should be in there.
And that's why I say it's a good start, but I think we just need to go just a little bit farther with it.
Any other council comments this evening? Okay. We typically only have one council meeting in December. The next scheduled council meeting would be December the 27th. We typically cancel that meeting unless there's something going on that's of importance, because a lot of people take that week off and go out of town. So are there any objections if we do not schedule the council meeting for December the 27th? All right, and this will be our last council meeting until January. If something comes up that's of importance, then we'll notify you and we'll call a special meeting for that. So with that, meeting adjourned.
Good.